We have a new record for the world's longest lightning bolt, 515 miles. It actually occurred in October of 2017, but in a study that was published today in the American Meteorological Society Journal, indicated that upon looking back at some data from a satellite, it revealed that there is a single lightning strike that went from Texas through Oklahoma, Arkansas, into Missouri for over 500 miles. Now, the previous record was actually from a lightning bolt that was flashing over South Mississippi in 2020, April 2020. There was a lightning bolt from a complex of storms that stretched from Texas all the way to South Mississippi, and the satellite data indicated that was 477 miles. So now that's in second place, and the new first place winner is the lightning bolt that is to our north.